Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Connor Williams, and we're back with another one of our 24/7 news report videos. As always, we start with the headline news, and the headline news this evening is that Everton want to sign Chelsea winger Hakim Ziyech. Everton are said to be ready to pay up to 25 million. Chelsea are considering letting him go, but then Everton have denied making a bid. This has come from Sky Sports. I think that translates to Sky Sports making it up as they go along, because the club have said they've denied even making a bid, and Sky Sports saying that Everton want to bid 25 million. I'm slightly confused on what's going on with that. Yeah, I'm slightly confused. I don't think it makes any sense. The fact that yesterday we were reporting that Bielsa says that our players are too slow, and the next day we're linked with a really slow winger. He's a fantastic player, but a really, really slow winger. We asked who would take Ziyech for 25 million at Everton. 2,685 of you voted. 64.2% said yeah. 14.3% said I don't know. And 21.5% of you said uh-uh. So a nice varying amount there. Varying amount of people. It's predominantly a yes. But it is a bit of there are, at least 40% that aren't 35. It's interesting. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's a good, like, James Rodriguez from a couple of years ago role, where he'd cut inside, play, make from the wide, find the space, but he's not going to be your beat your man, get to the byline, cross it in winger or inside forward. He's going to be a bit of a luxury player, but he can unlock. He can play centrally as well, but he can unlock a pass, which is something we desperately, desperately need. A player like this. I've been saying we need a player like this for a while. Somebody who can just thread a ball through. Um, I just think at the minute, when we don't know who the manager is or what style they bring, it's all a bit yeah, because if you get Bielsa might not like Ziyech. It's just all a bit wide open at the minute, if you ask me. And I don't see us signing anyone until we've got a manager. Um, we have as well that Newcastle have submitted an opening bid for Anthony Gordon, and they're pushing to get the deal done. That came from Fabrizio Romano. Then Jack Talbot, who is the journalist for transfer.com, the Times, he's featured everywhere, said Everton will give the green light for Anthony Gordon to join Newcastle today. The wide man took the advice of fellow professional Ross Barkley, who told him London as a city is a distraction amid the links with Chelsea. Then Sky Sports Keith announced that Anthony Gordon missed training for the second time ahead of his move to Newcastle. Keith Downey, that is. And then Keith Downey put there remains a gap in the two clubs' valuation for the player, but the player is open to the move. And then Luke Edwards at the Telegraph put that Newcastle will end their interest in Anthony Gordon and leave the winger trapped at Everton if Premier League rivals do not lower their 60 million asking price. So it sounds like Gordon wants to go. I think that's been pretty obvious. But Everton are stuck with that 60 million. It looks like he might have to stay, which will be very, very awkward because I think it's pretty obvious he wants to sort of stay, wants to go. I don't know. That seems all a bit awkward now. But I agree with Everton. Newcastle got the money. If you want him badly enough, come get him. But you've got the money, so you don't lie and say you haven't got the money. Yeah, so keep an eye on this. I think this has got this has got drama that's going to carry on for the next couple of days. We also have from L'Equipe that Rennes have rejected two bids from Southampton and PSV, which both total 17 million for the heavily reported Everton target, Kamaldeen Sulmana. He'd be a great replacement for Gordon. I think we're probably waiting to get the money before we spend it. If we can sell Gordon for like 60, get Sulmana in for 25, I don't think that's bad business. And it gives us about 35 million left to just play with, do whatever we want with, which is good, we also have some manager news now. I'll start off with the one that comes from Marco Conterio, who is a journalist for Tuta Mercato Web. He says, according to him, that Marcel Bielsa is ready to accept Everton, but only wants to join in the summer. Even if Everton do get relegated, Bielsa is not against the idea of starting a season in the Championship. However, Everton are pressing and non-stop talks have taken place. So I think what that translates to is Bielsa doesn't want to come till the summer because he'll have a summer then to build the squad, not 5 days. And he's not bothered about starting in the Championship. The annoying thing is, though, and so a lot of fans have been pointing this out, though, the whole point of a manager now is to make sure we're not in the Championship. Otherwise, we'd have just kept Lampard and let us crumble down and then replace him at the end of the season. The whole point is that we want someone who can keep us up. I personally don't think Bielsa suits our squad. There is some more Bielsa news, so we'll get into it. And he's proven to be quite difficult. There are other options out there. I think the club need to move on. And Moshiri needs to let go of this idea of I want him, so I'm going to get him. Tough in life, you don't always get what you want. Bielsa's made it clear, according to some journalists, that he's not confident that this squad has what he needs. Why don't we just get a manager who can play to the squad's strengths? It absolutely blows my mind. Once again, in my opinion, I think this is Farhad Moshiri putting one of the final nails in us again with his interference. I don't know why Kevin Thelwell isn't doing this, as that's meant to be his job. But Miguel Delaney said Everton do want to appoint a new manager by Friday so that they have a full week to prepare for Arsenal. Farhad Moshiri wants to press ahead with the appointment of Bielsa. Moshiri is annoyed by the idea. So once again, big name Moshiri, just absolutely. Oh, he's a big name in football. I want him. Absolute. Like, instead of just thinking what suits the squad, it's whatever suits his ego. Look at me. I've got a flash toy. I've got Marcelo Bielsa. Aren't my club brilliant? No, not if it ends up in the Championship because of it, mate. No, we look really silly. Honestly, I'm about done with Farhad Moshiri and his interference with Everton Football Club. I want him out. I want him out more than I want the board out, and I do want them changed. But they come they come together. Like, you don't get the change without both of them going. And I really, really want Managerial out. I think his interference is killing the club and has been for the last 5 years. Sky Sports said Everton are looking to appoint a manager by the end of the week. Marcel Bielsa is still the top choice. And then on top of that, we have that Arnaut Danjuma signed for Spurs today. They got that done pretty quickly after basically stealing him. I think stealing him's the right word to use there. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. It's also interesting that Bielsa, quickly before I move on, Bielsa would cost Everton 11 million a year. He does say that he pays his staff out of his own salary, but 11 million a year for a man that I don't know if he will keep us up. I don't have very much confidence in that. But yeah, like I said, Dan Juma's gone to Spurs. The Everton manager odds are now being slashed very quickly. The two favourites are Sean Dyche and Marcelo Bielsa. Then Ralph Hasenhüttl, then Sam Allardyce at 11-1. Although I'm convinced after some of his comments and Bielsa wanting to join in the summer, I'm convinced he's probably an odds-on favourite now. I'd put some money on him. But we also have today that Joorabchian decided he'd do a Farhad Moshiri and go on TalkSport, which is always a great idea. And Kia had a lot to say. He denies an influence at Everton. He said, I've done 3 transfers of my players over the course of Farhad's tenure. Those 3 were Richarlison from Watford, which I think was very successful. There was a free transfer of Bernard from Shakhtar Donetsk, which I don't think was a complete disaster and did very well. We had Carlo Ancelotti, who's the only manager they've taken recommendation. We always do the same with every club in the Premier League. When someone needs a manager, we always present our clients. He said, we always present clients, and I was involved in the Anwar El Ghazi loan, which was part of the Luca Dean transfer and FFP. That didn't work out for them. There was a change of manager, and the new manager occurred. He wasn't in the new manager's plans. I recommended Vitor Pereira. They went with Frank Lampard, and that was very much the board's decision. It was mentioned on Sky that Bill Kenwright and Denise Barrett-Baxendale had nothing to do there. Jamie Carragher mentioned that. People who say stuff like that haven't done their own work and are misinformed. that's unfair. He also said a couple of other things as well as that. He said Benitez was Managerial's fault, which I think we all sort of knew, but he just threw Managerial under the bus a little bit. Called Jamie Carragher uneducated as well. He just came across. I don't know what his intention was, but I don't think he's fooled Everton fans. He came across as a bit of a jumped up, in my opinion, a jumped up little so and so coming on, insulting Carragher, who, all right, he might be a red, and I didn't think I'd wake up defending him today, but he actually knows Everton very, very well. And I don't need to tell you why he supported them for most of his life until he was until Liverpool, until he supported Liverpool. He went to the games. If you watched the lockdown quizzes they did, he and Tim Cahill went head to head over Everton history, and Carragher's history is their knowledge is immense. And also everything Carragher said was spot on as well. I'd argue it if he was wrong, but he wasn't wrong. And I think Ziyech just came across as a right jumped up little so and so when he mentioned he was uneducated. And he really passed the blame onto other people, and I don't think he's being completely honest with what he was saying. But he was never going to come on and say that it was all his fault. But yeah, but once again, bad press for the club, and people using TalkSport as our means of communication. And finally, Leeds United are set to rival Blues for League One striker. Leeds United will make a late move for the Marseille striker and Everton target Bamba Dieng. According to reports in France, Dieng, 22, has been linked with a move to Goodison Park this month, but it seems as though Jesse Marsh's side will conclude the deal. Get French football news new reports. Leeds United have arrived late in the table with a move for Dieng, with Marseille preparing to walk away from the deal with Laurent for a striker if they do not sign Lemieux's striker Terem Moffi. Everton are reported to showing late interest in the player. I can see us losing him to Leeds. I think we take too slowly to pull the trigger on some players. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, that is everything we've got time for. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and keep an eye on us on Twitter at Everton Newsfeed, the Toffee Blues. We post all the news that come from the papers on the page, so it's a nice easy way to keep up with all the stuff. And come next tomorrow or probably some other time when we do these videos, and I do these videos, they're a really good way to sort of condense it all. You hear my opinion, you might agree, you might disagree. That's all the fun of it. But yeah, so make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys very, very soon.